और फ्लैक्सी जो फेयर स्कीम है उस पर एक रिपोर्ट के लिए सीधे चलते हैं वेंकट के पास।
Well, absolutely. In fact, we're talking about the Flexi fare system. Indian Railways has brought in an innovative method of this pricing on specific trains, and certainly common man is not affected in a negative way by the Indian Railways new experimental Flexi pricing, which is on Rajdhani, Duronto and Shatabdi Express trains. Let's take a look at this clear story. The Flexi fare system introduced by Indian Railways will not affect the common man. Indian Railways has introduced Flexi fares on Rajdhani, Duronto and Shatabdi trains from today. 10% of the seats will be sold in the normal fare in the beginning, and it will go on increasing by 10%, with every 10% of berths sold with a ceiling of 50%. Flexi fare system will be introduced only on an experimental basis. 142 high-ended trains out of 12,500 trains and 3,200 mail express trains are covered under the system. Only 1.1% of total trains will fall under Flexi fare system. This system will affect only 1.5 lakh people out of 2.3 crore passengers. That means only 0.65% of total passengers will fall under this scheme. Also, there is a ceiling limit for the upper fare, which ranges from 1.1 to 1.5 times base fare. Indian Railways is not the only railways following Flexi pricing. Russian Railways, European Railways, United Kingdom, France, American Railways, Japanese Railways have been following this dynamic pricing since long. Indian Railways has introduced this system on an experimental basis only. Few days ago, Indian Railways also introduced optional travel insurance scheme for the passengers for their welfare. It is clear that Indian Railways is committed to provide safe and affordable journey to the passengers across the country as promised by Union Railway Minister Suresh Prabhakar Prabhu. Bureau Report, DD News.
तो चलिए चर्चा की शुरुआत करते हैं, लेकिन आपका पार्टिसिपेशन इस कार्यक्रम में बहुत ज़रूरी है क्योंकि ये कार्यक्रम आपके लिए है और सीधे अपने सवाल और आपकी जो उलझने हैं आपके दिमाग में उसको आप हमारे एक्सपर्ट तक पहुंचा सकते हैं। प्रशांत कुमार जी से शुरुआत करते हैं। प्रशांत जी, ये जो पहले 5 महीने रहे हैं रेलवे फाइनेंसेस के लिए, आप किस तरह से आंक रहे हैं? इंटरनल असेसमेंट आप लोगों का कैसा है? और दूसरा सवाल मेरा ये है कि जो फ्लैक्सी फेयर स्कीम है उसकी ज़रूरत इस वक्त क्यों पड़ी, आप लोगों ने क्यों इंट्रोड्यूस किया इसे?
पहले तो ये जो 5 महीने अब तक गुजरे हैं, ये पिछले साल के इसी पीरियड से अगर कंपैरिजन करें तो हमारे फाइनेंसेस इन टर्म्स ऑफ पैसेंजर बिजनेस हैं वो इम्प्रूव हुआ है. वी आर क्लोज टू अबाउट 700 करोड़ अबव द लास्ट ईयर्स फिगर्स फॉर द पीरियड अप टू एंडिंग ऑन 31st of August. As far as the number of passengers who are traveling by railways is concerned, we are up over last year also and we are up over the target also. So as of now, things look to be okay and we are fingers crossed. We expect that we will be able to achieve the targets which have been set for us in this current year.
ठीक है. और फ्लैक्सी फेयर जिस एक्सपेरिमेंट की बात करें जिसको लेकर के बहुत ज़्यादा चर्चा हुई बीते 2-3 दिनों में, उसके पीछे का जो रैशनल है वो थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन करें हमारे दर्शकों को कि क्यों ऐसा ज़रूरी हुआ करना.
देखिए, ये फ्लेक्सी फेयर जो है इट्स नॉट अ न्यू कॉन्सेप्ट टू रेलवेज. वे बैक इन 1997 वी स्टार्टेड अ कॉन्सेप्ट कॉल्ड तत्काल. जो तत्काल में था कि अप टू 30% जो सीट्स थे हम लोग उसको सेट असाइड करते थे और एक सेपरेट क्यू फॉर्म होता था 24 घंटे पहले. इनिशियली जो 72 आवर्स से स्टार्ट हुआ था, देन इट स्टेबलाइज्ड एट 24 आवर्स. तो ये कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ डिफरेंशियल प्राइसिंग ऑन द सेम ट्रेन वो पहले से ही चल रहा है. उसके बाद हम लोगों ने 2013 दिसंबर में 2014 में एक कॉन्सेप्ट लाए गए थे हम लोगों के प्रीमियम ट्रेन्स का. So उसमें भी फ्लेक्सिबल फेयर था, वेरिएबल फेयर स्ट्रक्चर था, which used to rise on the same premises which now we have followed, where when you purchase tickets with every slab the fares used to increase. तो ये हम लोगों ने पहले ही स्टार्ट कर दिया था. उसके बाद पिछले 2 सालों में हमने इस पर काफ़ी एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन किए हैं टू इम्प्रूव आवर फाइनेंसेस एज वेल एज टू गिव फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी टू पैसेंजर्स हु कैन हैव डिफरेंट सेगमेंटेशन फॉर ट्रैवल. जैसे हमने अप्रैल 2015 में एक कॉन्सेप्ट लाया था called special trains. So over and above the timetable trains, when we used to run trains to meet the increase in demand, public demand, we used to run trains as special trains where we had a differential charging of 30% on the train compared to the normal fare. Then in July 2015, we started a concept of Suvidha trains, which essentially replaced the premium trains. Like premium trains, we experimented for about a year. We took feedback from the zonal railways, we took feedback from the public as to what they would like to have, some changes. Those changes were incorporated and we made a new scheme called the Suvidha train scheme. This was in July 2015. This also had a fixed variable fare structure with fixed baskets of 20% each kind of thing. So, and even in those trains, like for example, those Rajdhanis, Durantos and Shatabdis we are talking, there also 50% of the Tatkal berths were earmarked for a premium Tatkal. These premium Tatkal already had the same variable structure where when you're buying tickets, 10% when you buy, the fares used to go up. So it's not a new concept. It's a concept which is being widened to see whether as a new concept, as a new idea to offer a new segment to the passenger traffic. So it's a part of a process of evaluating our previous schemes which we have introduced and expanding those schemes to see whether it suits the public.
बिल्कुल.
Right, absolutely. And we have Mr. V.N. Mathur as well, the former Mumbai Traffic Railway Board. Sir, you've been with the Indian Railways, you've seen many things. And then how are you looking at this dynamic faring system which was introduced? What sort of advantages would it get to the Indian Railways out of your experience?
I think this is primarily a revenue generation exercise because the total finances of Indian Railways this year in the first 5 months are cause for concern. In the budget, the minister announces a target to be achieved. In the first 5 months, the shortfall, revenue shortfall is of the order of over 9,000 crores. Okay. In the case of passenger traffic, the shortfall is over 1,800 crores. In the case of freight, it is over 6,000 crores. These are very large numbers. So against a shortfall of 1,800 crores, this is an effort of the railways to reduce that shortfall. They themselves have indicated that this is likely to generate a figure of around 500 crores, yes. So that 1,000 crores, 800 crores gets reduced to a certain extent. I would applaud the railways for introducing this scheme because the railways must experiment with new means of generating revenue. And I'm glad they have called it experimental because the risk in such a scheme is that a lot of people traveling in AC 2-tier in particular may shift to air. Yes. Because there is a very small difference between, and Air India has already offered to take on passengers at the old AC 2-tier.
Yes. Yes.
So that is a risk. So I'm glad they have made it experimental. The problem, if you look at the bigger picture, the problem with the railways is this year both passenger traffic and freight traffic, and over the last 2 years is declining. Yes. We are not achieving the target. Our freight traffic this year is 25 million tons less than last year. Our passenger traffic in some segment it is about the same. In some segments it has come down. Suburban traffic has gone up by about 1% or so. So in this situation, pricing does matter. So my appeal to the Indian Railways is that you need to bring down costs in order to ensure that you remain competitive in the vis-a-vis road and vis-a-vis air. Because what is happening is with the development of better roads, with the improvement in road transport, I think there is a shift that is taking place from rail to road over certain distances. Right. So I think this is the broad picture. A good effort to try and raise money. Yes. I hope it succeeds.
Right, absolutely. In fact, Mr. Prashant Kumar was also mentioning that certain various other trains and there are many other things that Indian Railways is bringing in for the welfare of the passengers as well. We have a question on Twitter. We're getting many questions right now. We'll have a look at the first question on Twitter. And the question is by Ashutosh Singh, and the question is, this flexi fare should be replaced because in the long run the top 6 city passengers will migrate to planes. Mr. Prashant Kumar, do you really think so?
No, I don't really think so. No. See, these trains which we are now targeting, these Shatabdis, Rajdhanis and the Duronto trains are premium segment trains which have been extremely popular over the years. And we have a long waiting list for them. If you look at the number of the capacity for the air to carry these passengers is quite limited compared to what railways can carry. So I don't see, and with the congestion in the airports at this stage and all, it is quite improbable that there will be a large scale shift. Of course, a consumer, a customer should have an option to travel with the best prices which is available at the best time which is possible, and it is good for the customer that they get good option through railways also and a good option through airways also. But at this point of time, I don't see a major shift.
लेकिन अगर प्रशांत जी आपसे समझना चाहें कि जो रेलवेज़ हैं वो रेलवे से यात्रा करना आपके हिसाब से क्यों ज़्यादा फ़ायदेमंद है बनिस्बत कि आप प्लेन पे शिफ्ट करें, किस तरह से आप एडवोकेट करेंगे एज अ रेलवे पर्सन कि लोग प्लेन्स पे शिफ्ट ना करें और आपके साथ रहें?
See, railways is more a family travel on Indian Railways. You look at the kind of concessions we offer to family traveling. A child up to 5 years travels free on Indian Railways, and a child from 5 years to 12 years can travel paying 50%. Now, do you get this in any competitive mode? You don't get that. So, if you are traveling with a family of 2 children and husband and wife, you find that this pricing is much more attractive to travel by rail, even compared to any other mode of travel. And then the leisure that you get, the comfort you get while traveling with your family, the quality time you spend, these are also some aspects which these are positives of railways. Now look at the other, the range. I was talking about the infants and small children. Now look at the senior citizens. We give concession, 50% concession for senior citizens if it is ladies, and 40% for senior citizens if it is male. Now that's a fairly sizable population of Indian population which travels on train, and they will not get this kind of concession over in other modes of transport. So this segment is, I think, will stay with us, and we offer them this kind of comfort which you can travel at leisure, you can relax, sleep and travel. These are some things which I think are cherished by Indian public over the years, and it will continue.
ऐसा भी लगता है कि जो ओवरनाइट जर्नी होती है उससे थोड़े पैसे भी बच जाते हैं. अगर आप फ्लाइट पकड़ के जाते हैं और होटल में आपको रहना पड़ता है तो वो शायद भी आप पैसे बचा सकते हैं. थोड़ा सा प्लान भी बेटर कर सकते हैं अगर आप बिजनेस के लिए ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं.
ये तो मैं लॉन्ग डिस्टेंस के लिए बोला था. अगर शॉर्ट डिस्टेंस बिजनेस ट्रैवलर के लिए देखें तो आप जैसा आप बता रहे थे कि ओवरनाइट ट्रैवल तो से हो ही जाता है, और आप जो CBD टू CBD देखेंगे तो आप जो एयरपोर्ट से आप CBD जाते हैं, both ends at your end from where you are taking off and where you land, both sides the airports are situated at a very far distance, and the road congestion being so whatever it is today, if you are planning to go for a meeting say at 9:30 to Bombay, I think the best option to go is to go by Rajdhani.
Yes.
You go, get down at the 8:30 or in the center of the business district, just take a bath, freshen yourself, and you are in the meeting at 9 o'clock. If you take any flight which leaves from Delhi say about 7 o'clock or something, you will find that you land up 9 o'clock, and by the time you reach in that Bombay or Chennai, Bangalore, take whichever city you have, and if you want to reach your office by 9:30, it's more or less impossible.
Right. In
So
fact,
those are advantages of railways also.
well, absolutely. In fact, this is one thing which, in fact, railways always says. In fact, many people say that the airports are pretty much on the outskirts of the city. Just traveling into the city is always a challenge. Well, let's simply do a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere, and then don't forget to tweet and Gmail us your questions, because two guests, dignified guests, are here to actually answer your questions. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Mood of the nation is always in tandem with Sensex. I am Ketan Marwadi and have been associated with BSE since 1990. Come, feel the financial pulse of the nation.
S&P BSE Sensex, India's index, the world tracks.
Losing a lot on transaction fees? Become a member of the BSE and pay 99% less. BSE, experience the new. Losing a lot on transaction fees? Become a member of the BSE and pay 99% less. BSE, experience the new.
मैं हूं सूर्यदेव. एक बात पर प्रकाश डालना चाहूंगा. अब तुम आज के NAV पर म्यूचुअल फंड खरीद सकते हो. मेरे ढलने से पहले का NAV.
BSE Star Mutual Fund Platform, punctual like the sun. Increase your playing field. Introducing S&P BSE 100, India's most broad-based derivatives traded index.
The new mobile app from BSE. Now take BSE wherever you go.
When the Sensex is up, you find a smile on every face. I'm Deven Choksi, member of BSE since last 33 years. Come, Feel the financial pulse of the nation.
S&P BSE Sensex, India's index, the world tracks.
Welcome back to Business Morning's Economy Today, and we are getting in questions as well. Let's have a look at the other question, what we are getting in. There are two guests over here to answer those questions. Let's have a look at that question too. And the question is on Gmail. It is, why Indian Railways has not increased the overall rate of each ticket for each train, which may generate more revenues? Mr. Harendra. Sir.
Democratization.
Absolutely.
It's not that we have not increased. Recently, we had increased the minimum fares from rupees 5 to rupees 10 for the non-suburban travelers, and that had been done. It's not that, but we actually look at the whole spread from the lowest category of people who travel on, say, unreserved, to the highest category who travel on the premium trains. And we see where it can be increased and what is the value we bring. We have to look at the competition from road sector in the shorter segment are offering some road fares. We can't be more, we have to remain competitive there also. We have to be competitive with the air also. So we look at the entire range of our segmentation. We look at each segment and what are our competitiveness in that, and then take a decision on where to increase the fares and which is the segment to target.
Right. And we have another question as well. Let's have a look at that question too. On Twitter, if I'm not wrong, let's have a look at that question. On the Twitter, we have Navteen Singh tweeting saying that his railways considering to extend the system to other trains also.
At present, there is no such proposal.
Yes, and in fact, it is also on experimental basis. The results have to be seen. Mr. Mathur, when we talk about these revenues, when you were mentioning about these revenues, how are you looking at this? Now, we are actually living in a competitive world, like from other transport means as well. The airfares are also they're going down. In such a scenario, don't you think it is a humongous task for Indian Railways to face that competition and then stand? But however, Indian Railways is one of these oldest organizations which have been, standing pretty much tough against all these odds.
Yes, Indian Railways is in a very difficult situation. But I think the viability of the railways is very important. It's very important for the nation as a whole, because Indian Railway plays a very key role in keeping this country together, in integrating the country, and in transporting not only passengers but in meeting the demands of the core sectors of the economy. So the question which has been raised, the previous question was a very interesting question: is why have we not raised the fares across the board?
True.
That was one option, and I think it is a workable option. Instead of increasing it in premium class trains, if you had made a very modest increase across the board, I think people in India today are willing to pay. It may result in some decline in traffic in certain segments, but if your total revenue generation increases, it may be worthwhile.
But then Mr. Prashant Kumar says that is also happening.
I don't think it is happening on the scale that it is required. We need to, passenger fares eventually must meet the costs involved. Indian Railways makes an annual loss of something like 30,000 crores or more on its passenger services. That's a very big amount, and it cross-subsidizes it from freight traffic. So for making good the loss that you make in passenger traffic, you have to make good from freight. But freight rates are going up, and as a result, what is happening? Freight traffic is also
going down. In fact, this problem,
that's the dilemma that the organization.
This problem dates back to certain few years back as well. In fact, where the passenger fares were actually kept down, then freight traffics have gone up, and then right now we are looking at the freight tariffs, which are pretty much highest in the world. That is one problem which we've seen years back. But then I hope the current government is actually addressing that challenge too. Let's have a look at the other question as well. Now we have got a question on the Gmail, if I'm not wrong. Let's have a look at that question too. And the question is, this new scheme is to compensate the revenue shortfall which railway is facing in distress freight, mainly of coal-based. This is by Ayush. So do you really think that the new scheme is actually to compensate the fall in the freight, especially coal-related issues?
No, it is not to compensate. We've taken a slew of steps even to bring our freight segment up. And we have, over a period of last 2 years, various schemes and incentives have been announced by the government, by railways. to bring back the freight segment to railways. So freight is a segment altogether, and passenger segment, as Mr. Mathur was mentioning, also is a segment which has to be looked in by itself, and we have to ensure that this segment also able to earn and generate revenue for running the railway services. So it's independent of freight. We also want to make our passenger business a viable business, a profitable business.
But then this freight tariffs, so when we talk about these freight tariffs, are pretty much high. In fact, the figures itself show that they are pretty much high in the world. And then at the same time, we have the road transport freight, which is pretty much going down. And then the traffic is actually moving towards the road transport. Don't you think that is a serious challenge and that has to be addressed in a pretty much wise way?
It is being addressed. It is being addressed. If you had seen about last 6-7 months, there have been a series of incentives which have been offered by Indian Railways to freight customers also. So we are addressing that issue separately.
Okay.
प्रशांत जी, रेलवेज तो एक तरह से पूरा एक अपने आप में एक इंडिपेंडेंट इकाई है जिसमें आप क्लास को भी कैटर करते हैं, मास को भी कैटर करते हैं, और अलग अलग क्लास के अलग अलग आपके चैलेंजेस हैं, और मेरे ख्याल से जो स्ट्रैटेजी है वो भी अलग अलग बनती है. जो मास है और जिसके लिए आप लोग जाने जाते हैं कि आप 2-2.5 करोड़ लोग, मतलब अगर 2 ऑस्ट्रेलिया एक साथ हमेशा ट्रेन में रहता है पूरे देश में तो एक बड़ी बात है. और अगर आप मास के लिहाज से देखें, लोगों के लिहाज से देखें, तो कहा जाता है कि कल्याणकारी काम है, इसलिए आपको सब्सिडाइज़ करते रहना चाहिए, कॉस्ट सब्सिडाइजेशन जिसकी बात माथुर साहब ने की. दूसरी बात ये भी है कि अगर मास को ये सर्विसेज देनी है तो जो जनरल कंपार्टमेंट्स हैं या फिर जो डेमू या मेमू जैसी जो सेवाएं हैं उन पर ज़्यादा शायद कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर करना चाहिए या उनकी संख्या ज़्यादा बढ़ाई जानी चाहिए. क्या इस तरफ भी आप लोग कुछ काम कर रहे हैं?
जी, हम लोग इस तरफ भी काम कर रहे हैं. आपने अगर देखा होगा कि इस बार के रेलवे बजट में माननीय मंत्री ने इसमें अनाउंसमेंट भी किया था कि एक अंत्योदय ट्रेन चलाएंगे, विच इज़ अ सुपर फास्ट ट्रेन, विच इज़ अ फुली अनरिजर्व ट्रेन, विच विल बी ऑन busy routes where people travel, especially for work and all these places, where traveling by general class compartments in an existing superfast train is difficult because the number of coaches are very limited to those trains. So Antyodaya trains are being planned in this current year. And similarly, Deen Dayalu coaches were announced by the minister, which are general coaches, unreserved coaches with enhanced features like dispensable water being available in the train, then chargeable points for mobiles and usage of mobiles. So we are actually looking at those also at the same time while we are looking at the upper segment. It's not that we have neglected that segment.
बहुत सारे सवाल हमारे साथ जो दर्शकों के हैं वो लगातार जुड़ते चले जा रहे हैं. देखते हैं कि अगला सवाल क्या है. और मयूर रंजन साहब, कृष्णा खंडेलवाल, विजेंद्र पाल लगातार हमें सवाल कर रहे हैं. हाउ कैन वी हैव अ बेनिफिट ऑफ फ्लैक्सी प्राइसिंग के क्या कुछ फ़ायदे भी हैं? आशीष सिंह जी जानना चाहते हैं, अगर आप फ्लैक्सी प्राइसिंग सफल हो जाता है मिसाल के तौर पर और इसे आप लागू कर देते हैं तो आप कैसे कन्विंस कर पाएंगे इसके फ़ायदों को लेकर के?
देखिए, हमारा फ्लेक्सी प्राइसिंग होते हुए मैंने पहले तो ये बताया कि फ्लेक्सी प्राइसिंग कोई नई चीज़ नहीं है. ये 1997 से चल रही है. एक ही ट्रेन में हम लोग फ्लेक्सी प्राइसिंग कर रहे थे पहले. वो एक फिक्स्ड स्ट्रक्चर पे था कि सिर्फ 30% फिक्स्ड रहता था. हम लोग अब इसको 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 जैसे 10%, 20%, 30% करके कर रहे हैं. और जहाँ हम लोगों ने ये इन ट्रेनों में प्रीमियम तत्काल था जिसमें 50% ऑफ द तत्काल था, उसमें ऑलरेडी फ्लेक्सी प्राइसिंग इसी बेसिस पे था. तो ये कोई नया कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है. दूसरा इनका ये कहना है कि इसका व्हाट विल बी द एडवांटेजेस ऑफ दैट. You look at busy season. I was just looking at this Dashara season, which is coming now in the month of October, and I was looking at the airfares which are towards, say, Kolkata. I find that the fares are varying from somewhere in 7,000 to 17,000.
Yes.
Now our fares remain constant throughout the year. So when there is a surge which is taking place where everyone is trying to take advantage of the surge, we provide the most economical means of transport.
For extra train भी चला देते हैं.
We run extra trains. Then we provide extra coaches, and it is probably a lifesaver for most of the people who want to travel at short notice, because it is these kind of trains only come to their aid. So it's not that we are increasing the fares as such. These flexi fares give you an option. It is not that at any point of time a common man has an option to travel in a normal mail express train, which is already there. Unlike the airline industry, if you find that at one single point of time, all the airlines are running at very high cost.
Right.
It doesn't happen on railways. Railways offers that graded segmentation for everyone. You can travel in a passenger train, normal mail express train on normal fares, then special trains with just giving 30% extra, then there are premium trains, then there are Suvidha trains. So every segment has a niche for himself to travel. It's not that we have neglected each of them, any of them. It is that we are offering across the board various varieties of services which caters to every individual need.
और शायद यही हमारा मकसद भी है इस प्रोग्राम को करने का कि ये थोड़ा सा टोटलिटी में लोग इस पूरे मामले को समझें और जो चीज़ें हैं उनको ये समझने की कोशिश करेंगे ऐसा किया क्यों गया। बहुत सारे सवाल आ रहे हैं, आइए देखते हैं अगला सवाल। वाई फर्स्ट क्लास कोचेज आर एग्जेम्प्टेड फ्रॉम फ्लैक्सी फेयर, क्या ऐसा है विनोद उपाध्याय जी? क्या ये सही सवाल है या
No.
नहीं?
Yes and no. I will try to explain how it is. Please. In terms of the flexi fares, we have exempted the executive class of the Shatabdi and the first AC class of Rajdhani and Duronto trains. At the same time, in these trains, in these classes, the Tatkal charges which used to be charged 30% extra continue to be put. So for the 30% of the berths which we earmark as Tatkal on these trains, for these two classes they continue to apply it for 30%, but the rest of the classes we have withdrawn.
Okay.
So therefore it is not exactly correct to say that we have totally exempted the first AC and the executive class.
Right. And so we have other question as well on Gmail. Let's have a look at that question too.
चलो अगले सवाल की तरफ बढ़ने की कोशिश करते हैं। जीमेल के जरिए ये सवाल आया है।
If government purpose is to increase income of railway, there are many other ways than increasing fare and increasing burden.
Increasing burden on common man में भी कुछ ऐसा लिखना चाह रहा हूँ ये।
And in fact, this question has been answered. Like we've been talking about the whole thing. In fact, it is not just the only way to increase the revenues as such. Sir, if Mr. Prashant, if I'm not wrong.
Doing a lot of things in the sundry earnings. What we have commercial publicity earnings, we have commercial exploitation of land. We are looking at all these aspects also, which bring in revenue from non-fare revenue.
In fact, if I'm not wrong, we're planning about the festive season, the ads revenues as well. You're also generating that too, and there is a certain target as well. Let's have a look at the other question too, Naf, which we're getting on Twitter. Let's have a look at that too. And the Twitter question is by Rohit Kumar, and then he says, "Don't you think that the increase in price will affect middle class and lower class families?"
As I clearly put it across, this does not affect the middle class and lower class because the existing trains which are running, all the mail express trains which are running today, they continue to run on the same fare structure. It is the upper end trains which are called the Rajdhanis and Shatabdis, which are actually much closer to the airfares. It is only on those trains we have tried this as an experimental basis.
Yes, and let's have a look at the other question too. This question is also on Twitter, a Twitter-based question. Let's have a look at that. And the question is by Bharadwaj. It says, is railway aware of Air India's tickets at cheaper rates, that too 4 hours before departure?
हाँ जी बिल्कुल सभी को पता है और ये स्कीम जो है वो बहुत पहले आ चुकी है। माथुर साहब, ये जो सवाल पहले किया गया था, कुछ ख़ास तरह के जो ट्रेन्स हैं और अभी हम सफ़र की बात कर रहे हैं, कुछ नए स्पेशल टैल्गो ट्रेन्स का एक्सपेरिमेंट जो है वो ख़त्म हो गया है, एक तरह से सफल भी रहा परीक्षण। ये जो स्पेशल ट्रेन्स का पूरा इकोनॉमिक्स है उसको थोड़ा सा आप समझाएं और कितना ज़रूरी है ये रेलवेज़ के हेल्थ के लिए।
मैंने जैसे बताया था अभी कि रेलवेज टोटल जो है पैसेंजर सर्विस में 30,000 करोड़ का नुकसान होता है सालाना। अब रेलवे की ये कोशिश रहनी चाहिए कि इनकी जो स्पेशल ट्रेन हैं, प्रीमियर ट्रेन हैं, राजधानी, शताब्दी और जो नई ट्रेनें शुरू करने वाले हैं जी, इनकी कम से कम ये ट्रेन जो है ब्रेक इवन करें। दे शुड बी एबल टू मीट देयर कॉस्ट एंड होपफुली ओवर ए पीरियड ऑफ टाइम दे विल स्प्रेड दिस अक्रॉस टू मोर ट्रेन्स। अभी बहुत ही थोड़ी ट्रेन है, शायद राजधानी ही एक ट्रेन होगी कि वो कुछ साल पहले तो इट यूज टू ब्रेक इवन, आजकल लेटेस्ट आंकड़े मुझे पता नहीं है, बट थ्रू दी सच स्ट्रेटजीज, flexi fares and Tatkal and all, I hope that the railways will be able to meet the costs of these high-end services. These high-end services should not run at a loss.
तो क्रॉस सब्सिडाइजेशन किसके लिए ज़्यादा किया जाता है? क्या इन प्रीमियम सर्विसेज के लिए या फिर जो मास ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का काम करती रेलवे?
जो मास ट्रांसपोर्ट का काम कर रही है ऑब्वियसली वहाँ पे ज़्यादा सब्सिडी है।
चलिए वो तो चीज़ है। अब अगले सवाल की तरफ बढ़ते हैं और देखते हैं कि क्या है। ट्विटर के जरिए बहुत सारे लोग हमसे क्या आने वाले समय में फ्लैक्सी फेयर सिस्टम रेलवे आम आदमी की गाड़ियों में लागू नहीं करेंगे? क्या ये कैटेगोरिकल आंसर चाहते हैं कि क्या आप जो लोग कॉमन मैन यूज़ करता है रेलवे उसमें ये लागू नहीं करेंगे?
जैसे मैंने बताया कि at present we have no policy or plan of introducing it beyond these 3 trains, and these trains have also been done on an experimental basis. For any policy, it has to be reviewed after some time and see whether it is working, whether it requires any change, whether it requires to be improved upon. So we'll take that call, say 3-4 months down the line. We will see, review this policy also and see how it works.
और एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सवाल, इंपॉर्टेंट क्या इंटरेस्टिंग है, मयूर महाजन जानना चाह रहे हैं कि क्या कुछ कंसेशन है जो डेली ट्रेवल करते हैं राजधानी या दुरंतो पे। मेरे ख्याल से ये फ्रीक्वेंट ट्रेवलर्स के लिए अगर आप कुछ सुविधा देना चाह रहे हैं उसकी बात पूछना चाह रहे हैं।
अभी तो नहीं है ऐसा कोई स्कीम, बट वी आर वर्किंग ऑन ए लॉयल्टी स्कीम प्रोग्राम, वी आर वर्किंग ऑन इट।
चलिए, तो ये भी एक ख़बर वाली बात कि जो फ्रीक्वेंट ट्रेवलर लॉयल्टी प्रोग्राम है उसके लिए कुछ आपको सुविधा आने वाले दिनों में देखने को मिल सकती है। छोटा सा ब्रेक लेते हैं, ब्रेक के बाद ये सवाल और जवाब का सिलसिला लगातार जारी है, तो कहीं मत जाइए, देखते रहिए ये खास कार्यक्रम बिजनेस मॉर्निंग।
Losing a lot on transaction fees? Become a member of the BSE and pay 99% less. BSE, experience the new.
Sensex is sensational, is the darling of everyone. I am Vallabh Bansali. I've been associated with the BSE since 1981. Come, feel the financial pulse of the nation.
S&P BSE Sensex, India's index, the world tracks.
To benchmark against Sensex is to benchmark against 30 best Indian companies. I am Dinesh Thakkar. I am associated with BSE since 1987. Come, feel the financial pulse of the nation.
S&P BSE Sensex, India's index, the world tracks.
The mood of the nation is always in tandem with Sensex. I am Ketan Marwadi and have been associated with BSE since 1990. Come, feel the financial pulse of the nation.
S&P BSE Sensex, India's index, the world tracks.
Increase your playing field. Introducing S&P BSE 100, India's most broad-based derivatives traded index.
India's fastest currency derivatives exchange is here. BSE CDX, powered by Bolt Plus.
Welcome back to Business Morning and Economy Today. Let's have a look at the other question as well. We are getting in more and more number of questions. Let's have a look at that question too without any delay. And the question is on Gmail. And it is, do you think if it is fair that I have paid more for the same ticket than a traveler in my next seat and both of us getting the same seat? That's what Bhattacharya says. Now, he wants to ask whether it is justified. Now, that, I mean, this itself is a surging price flexi fare system. I mean, like, you, rather, Prashant sir, if you want to answer this question.
As you had earlier mentioned in your small clip which you had shown, that it is a system which is being followed all over the world.
Yes.
And the airlines have been following it in India even on every flight which is so. The first slab of tickets which you purchase are at a lower fare. And as the days go by and you come to the nearer to the journey, these fares tend to rise. And this has been a system which has been followed in all transport systems, including railways abroad.
True. So, in fact, the people have to understand that this system has always been there in many other countries' railways as well. It is there on Tatkal mode since 1997. It is there on air prices as well every time. In fact, when Indian Railways does this is on an experimental basis. Rather, airfares, we can see that it is there every day. The surge pricing is there every day. Sometimes we see prices going down, but then Indian Railways is one organization which is maintaining the consistency in the prices as well. People have to understand that specific part of Indian Railways. Well, let's go to the other question as well. Let's have a look at that question too, Nav. And this is once again on Gmail. And the question is, if one cancels the ticket, then is there any change in the deduction of money which we have paid? This is by Pradyumna Joshi. An interesting question, Mr. Prashant Kumar. How do you see this?
The cancellation refund rules remain same.
Okay.
There is no change in the refund rules. The existing refund rules will continue.
Okay, एक क्लैरिटी आई है रिफ़ंड को लेकर के। बहुत सारे लोग ये सोच रहे होंगे कि अगर लास्ट मोमेंट पे हमें कुछ करना पड़ा तो क्या होगा, हमारे पैसे वापस होंगे या नहीं। माथुर साहब, एक चर्चा ये भी चल रही है और ऑन रिकॉर्ड रेलवे मिनिस्टर भी कह चुके हैं कि जो शायद रेलवे बजट है उसको सब्ज्यूम किया जाएगा जनरल बजट में। ये मैक्रो पिक्चर आपको किस तरह से दिखी और क्या आपकी एनालिसिस है, अगर ऐसा होता है और बहुत मुमकिन है हो भी जाए शायद इस साल से, क्या फ़र्क पड़ेगा?
नहीं, मैं समझता हूँ एक बहुत सही डिसीजन लिया गया है। रेलवे बजट वाज अ बिट ऑफ एन एनाक्रोनिज्म, क्योंकि हिस्टोरिकली चला आ रहा था 1924-25 से। इसे डिसकंटिन्यू करना सही है, क्योंकि अब बहुत सारी पब्लिक सेक्टर अंडरटेकिंग्स के बजट जो हैं रेलवे से ज़्यादा हैं, जो ONGC वगैरह ऑयल सेक्टर के खास तौर से। और दूसरा ये भी फ़ायदा रहेगा कि पॉपुलिस्ट मेजर्स जो कभी कभी अनाउंस किए जाते हैं बजट में, उसकी अर्ज थोड़ी कम हो जाएगी एंड मोर प्रोफेशनल डिसीजंस विल बी टेकन, जैसे पॉपुलर ट्रेन्स इंट्रोड्यूस करना, स्कीम्स इंट्रोड्यूस करना। एक तो ये है। दूसरा जो ये फाइनेंशियल एनालिसिस जो अभी मिल रही है रेलवेज के जो फाइनेंसेस की है, दैट माइट चेंज।
अच्छा,
दैट माइट चेंज। जो हमें बिल्कुल पिक्चर मिल जाती है कि क्या प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी है, क्या ऑपरेटिंग रेशियो है रेलवेज का, वो शायद जब नेशनल बजट आएगा उसमें हो सकता है छिप जाए।
लेकिन फिर भी फाइनेंशियल ऑटोनॉमी तो रहेगी रेलवेज को, और
ऑटोनॉमी रहेगी, मगर बजट की मैं समझता हूँ कोई बजट की कोई आवश्यकता है नहीं, और ये सही, बिल्कुल सही डिसीजन किया गया है।
Well, absolutely. That is one thing. In fact, even Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu is also thinking about. In fact, the other day he was saying that he's written a letter to the Finance Ministry as well to subsume into the Finance Ministry. And then, as Mr. Mathu was mentioning, the autonomy will always be there on the financial note. Let's have a look at the other question too. What question we have? Let's have a look at that. And the question is on Gmail. This is what is being done to improve the ticketing system so that more people can get railway tickets. This is by Sarvesh Dedar. So that is a question, in fact.
It's a good question, and it's an opportunity for me to tell that what we have done in the last 2 years.
Absolutely.
Now, see, about 2 years back, we had the e-ticketing system, and we have this computerized reservation system. There has been a trend of move towards people buying on e-ticket. 3-4 years down the line, we had majority of people buying on the railway reservation system. That is, you go to the passenger reservation centers and buy these tickets. Now, almost 58% of the people now buy on e-tickets. In the last 2 years, we have enhanced the server capacity, made the experience of getting the ticket much easier. For example, about 2 years back, we had a capacity of 2,000 tickets per minute. We enhanced it in the month of December 2014 to about 7,200 per minute. Now, in last year, in April, we have enhanced it to 15,000 tickets per minute. And the average generally during that period is much lower.
True.
So therefore, we have been investing hugely on improving the ticketing infrastructure. In the unreserved ticketing system segment also, we have done a lot of work. In the last 1 year, we introduced the paperless mobile ticketing.
Yes.
Initially, we came with the paper mobile ticketing, where you buy a ticket on SMS on a mobile phone, go to a railway counter,
take the print,
where there is an automatic ticket vending machine, just put the number and you used to get a ticket.
True.
Within about 3-4 months, we have discontinued that, and all the metro cities today, and as well as Secunderabad in Bangalore, we have this system where we have now a mobile ticket app where you can buy ticket while sitting at home and then you can travel. So improvements in ticketing has been taking over a place. We have introduced the concept of Yatri Ticket Suvidha Kendra. These are on a public PPP model where a private person sets up a reservation centers in the centers of the cities where people can go and buy tickets.
True.
Then we had this JTBS, Jan Ticket Suvidha Kendra, which is unreserved tickets being sold outside the railway premises at various locations inside the city, so that people need not come all the way to railway stations to buy tickets. So we had launched this scheme called Operation 5 Minutes last year in the budget, which was announced by the minister. As a part of this, a large number of steps have been taken to improve ticketing experience. Last year, we had even, very quite recently, we had introduced a scheme where cancellation and refund of tickets were also made very, very user-friendly. In case of a cancellation of a train, earlier you had to go and cancel the ticket. Now automatically the money gets into your system. And for those passengers who have booked unreserved reserved tickets, which is a paper ticket, you can now cancel your ticket on 139 on phone through IVRS or through SMS, or can log on to the IRCTC website, and there also you can cancel your ticket at any point of the time. And ticket purchase, for example, the purchase of tickets earlier used to be restricted to up to 8 o'clock in the PRS centers and up to 23 hours in the e-ticketing. Now, except for 15 minutes, e-ticketing is available round the clock.
Yes, yeah.
So these kind of new changes which have been brought about in the last 1.5 years have been there in the ticketing as well.
Right, right. We'll have another question as well on Twitter. So the final question, let's take that question on Twitter. And the question is by Krishna Khandelwal. It says passengers may indicate amount he's willing to pay after 50% seats have been booked at standard fare and allotted to the best bidder. I would rather see it as a suggestion sort of a stuff from him, sir. How do you look at this?
It's a suggestion.
That's what, and then that has to go on. But then, in fact, sir, I would appreciate that, because the people, you must have heard what exactly the answer was regarding how the ticket booking system has become so simple these days. rather looking at things in a negative way, it is better to understand what exactly are the details of things that are introduced by the Indian Railways, and then really understand how Indian Railways is working for an affordable and affordable journey to the passengers, and also some certain sort of a welfare insurance, also optional insurance schemes also have been provided to the passengers these days. So Indian Railways is working apparently on that.
तो फिलहाल इस कार्यक्रम में सिर्फ इतना ही वक्त है। प्रशांत जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया इस कार्यक्रम में आने के लिए, और जो तमाम लोगों के जो दुविधाएं थी मन में उनको दूर करने के लिए। माथुर साहब का भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अपना पर्सपेक्टिव देने के लिए। तो आज के इकॉनमी टुडे में सिर्फ इतना ही। कल आपसे मुलाकात होगी, कल चर्चा होगी डिजिटल लॉकर स्कीम की, और इस कार्यक्रम के जरिए जितने भी फ्लैगशिप प्रोग्राम्स हैं गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के, उनको हम और भी ज़्यादा सरल बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं आपके लिए, हमारे लिए, हम सब के लिए। फिलहाल दीजिए इजाज़त, नमस्कार।
Business Morning was brought to you by BSE IPF.